Thank you all for joining us today. We're going to spend some time demonstrating how manufacturers just like you are boosting efficiency in their operations, gaining data-driven visibility, and transforming their operations using Prophecy. I'm Ben Halliday, and I'm the Director of Customer Experience, and I'll be here for your entire journey, everything from this initial look at Prophecy all the way through onboarding and the growth and expansion of it across your operations. I have 20 years of experience as an engineer and ops manager working at two different manufacturers, and more recently have been focused on delivering technology solutions, just like Prophecy, to improve manufacturing operations. Today, I'll be helping answer questions as I'll hand it off here to Greg as Greg walks us through a look at what Prophecy is.
All right. Thank you, Ben. So, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you are in the country. My name is Greg Keating. I'm a client solution executive with Godlin. Been with Godlin for about 6 months. Prior to that, I was at Infor for 7 years. And then prior to that, I was in industry. Automotive metal stamping is my primary background, as you can see from behind me here. So, was vice president of operations for a medium-sized stamping company just outside of Chicago, where we did conventional stamping, fine blank stamping. We also did double disc grinding, CNC machining, insert and injection plastic molding, as well as some assembly and light metal fabrication work, some press brakes and turrets and so forth. Today, we're going to talk about the Prophecy application. And we'll start out with a brief PowerPoint that'll explain some of the concepts and how Prophecy works. And then we're going to jump right into live software, and we're gonna make some parts today and look at the status of my factory out there. Now, before I get started, I'm going to come off of camera because the screen is up there that I'm using. So we're going to go ahead and do a brief overview of what Prophecy is. And so, first and foremost, what is Prophecy? Prophecy is an application that converts a factory into a smart factory, creating what we call a connected worker platform. So if we kind of look at this image here of this factory with everybody wearing these snappy yellow outfits here, we've got this cord that's going through the factory. And you'll notice, let's start here. We're connected to a machine and we're collecting data directly from the machine. Is it running? Is it not running? If it's not running, why? How long has it been running? How many cycles has it completed? And so forth. And if we continue to follow this around, we stop at this guy here who's working on a tablet. So we don't necessarily have to be connected to a machine. We can work off of a human interaction as well. And if we continue to follow this around, we stop here at this robot, which means essentially we can connect to non-factory assets. CloudSuite Industrial or SyteLine doesn't care about your compressor. It's just an asset within within the factory. But you certainly care about the health of your compressor and the status of that. So we can connect to factory assets as well and collect data from those types of devices. Now, when we talk about the benefits of a connected worker platform, they're pretty obvious. First and foremost, we want to engage quickly. We want to reduce the response time in identifying and correcting anomalies on the factory floor. You cannot wait until tomorrow to find out you had a bad day today. Right now it's 1 o'clock my time, a little bit after 1 o'clock my time. I can see the stats and say, I'm not doing too well. Maybe I need to work overtime, or maybe I need to put some more resources or get engineers or maintenance or something out there to address a problem that I'm happening right now while it's still in the machine. I want simple and fast displays. I want rapid operator interaction. I want the operator operating and focusing on their process and focusing on the quality of the products that they're making, not stuck in a terminal for 3, 4, 5 minutes doing data entry work while the process is either stopped or running without anybody monitoring it. Want speed and productivity. We want to automate as many of these transactions into the ERP SyteLine as possible. Get our inventory levels as close to real time as possible. That makes APS work better. And lastly, and probably most importantly, is we want to facilitate continuous improvement within your organization. We want to be able to turn a light on to the problems and the processes that you're experiencing in your factory floor and give you the chance to go out there and fix them and attack where the problems are. Now, the smart factory, there's two types of connections, as I mentioned already. We have equipment automation and worker automation. Equipment automation, we're connected directly to the machine and reading outputs from that. Worker automation is we're collecting data from an operator. Let's start talking about equipment automation. And where does Prophecy sit in this landscape? It's sitting right here in between the ERP, CloudSuite Industrial, most likely, or SyteLine or some variation thereof, and the machines. So we're getting data and sending data in and out of the ERPs, and we're collecting data from the machine sensors. Now, if you happen to be running version 10 in the cloud or have access to some big data model, we can populate that as well. SyteLine doesn't care about the temperature and pressure of your machine over a long period of time, but you certainly do. So we can take that data and we can put that in the data lake, and now you can start adding and deploying AI and ML models against that data on, hey, when my temperature was this and my pressure was this, my efficiency and my productivity was this. And you can start using that to build your correlation analysis between those various inputs and processing factors to measure your performance. Now, we also have what's called a rate of change detection capability. So let's say what that means is a sudden shift in some machine output. So let's say the machine limit is the red lines, and we're running along. Let's say it's pressure, and we're running along at somewhere around 400, and then all of a sudden we have a sudden drop down to the 150 range. We make a handful of parts at the 150, and it pops back up again to where it was before. Do you think these parts are good? Well, maybe, but they're at least worth looking at because you had this sudden shift in this output. The machine kept running because you were inside the machine's control limits, but you had a sudden shift in some output parameter. Well, we should be alerting the operator to say, hey, take a look at those 5 parts that just came off because there might be something wrong with them. Now, in terms of worker automation, we refer to that as the manufacturing hub. And this is the interface, and we're going to go into it. We're going to make some parts in it. So I'm not going to spend too much time explaining all the buttons just yet. But this is a disconnected type of environment. The key takeaway here is we have unlimited users. So Prophecy is licensed based on a site license. Site license combined with the number of connected machines. Well, if you're not connecting to any machines and you're just doing manual, it's one site license for all of them. It doesn't matter how many stations you put out there, or how many and-on boards or anything like that. It's one fee. We also have full supervisor capability. Where are my people at? What are they working on? Are they achieving their rates? I can do some error correction in there without having to go into SyteLine. If somebody made a bad quantity or a bad time, forgot to punch out, something like that, I can do that all within Prophecy. And I can also send out messages to all the stations out on the factory floor or to specific people, hey, come to my office or fire drill at noon or something like that. We have our own design tool. The design tool, here, let me show you here. This is our design tool. It's very, very similar to Mongoose. You're just dragging and dropping components onto the diagram or onto the screen. So if I wanted to put a gauge on there, I would just click and drag it and put it wherever I wanted to, and then I would bind that to a specific value, a tag value in Prophecy, we refer to it as, to represent that data. So it's pretty simple to modify and to utilize this particular design tool. Now, our screens are broken out into 3 separate categories. We have operator engagement screens. These are the ones that are accepting input. These are the ones the operators are using. How many parts did I just make? I just scrapped 3 pieces for this reason, or I'm clocking on and off of machines and so forth. And we'll see an example of one of these in a moment. We have live and on screens. So here's what's happening on my factory floor right now. These will all auto refresh, so you can mount them to a TV and put them or have them on a TV, mount a TV to the wall or in the conference room or something like that, showing me what's happening in my factory with simple color coding. And then lastly, we have a full suite of analytics. These are more for the back office. You're not really surfacing this for the operators, but these are more for the plant manager, VP of ops. How's my factory performing? What's my overall OEE? What's my scrap rates? And what are my trends, today, this week, this month, this year, and so forth. And those are all included in the site license. We have an entire suite of key performance indicators. List is not all inclusive. These are just the ones that get deployed in virtually every installation of Prophecy. My employees, job time versus shift time. You paid them for 8 hours. How many hours do they actually spend on jobs? And then when they were running, were they hitting rate? What's my efficiency? Or what indirect codes were they on? And then dropping down to the machines, were my machines running? And were they hitting rates? And how many parts did I produce? What are my downtime reasons? What are my alarm reason codes? What are my rate of change stoppages and so forth? So enough of the PowerPoint. Let's actually get into the software now. I'm already logged in. So I'm going to hit the escape key and end the PowerPoint show. And here I'm in the software already. And what we're looking at here is a roof-off view of our factory. So we have color coding in here. There's 9 machines in here. And here's the status of them based on my legend over here. So this top one is called for a material handler. Oh, it just went down. Machine MC300M2 is also down. These are running. The ones in green are running. This one doesn't have an operator right now. It's missing it's down for a lack of labor. So I can hover over any one of these icons, and at the bottom, I'll see the information about that particular machine, or maybe I want to drill in to that machine and get some more details. So when I click on the details button, it will open up this screen. And this screen is going to show me the detailed information for what's happening on that particular machine at this point in time. It looks like we're running a little slow. I'm going to close this and see if we can improve the performance of it a little bit. Actually, I'm going to reopen it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and then we're going to open up the details button. And my drill down is not quite behaving the way I would like right now. It should be popping the details about that particular machine and the specifics of it. So let's switch over to our next view, which we're going to look at multiple departments. And the multiple departments, that maybe this is a TV screen that's mounted to a wall or something like that that's outside. This is the CNC department. And here's what's happening in the CNC department at this time. So in a moment here, we're going to collect all that data. And here are all my 8 CNC machines. And I can see what's happening in those 8 CNC machines in terms of, this one's calling the supervisor, their down machine. This one's running. I can see the job and the item number that's in there, along with any stats that are coming from that particular machine. You're also going to notice that these machines are all going to auto refresh so that there's no interaction needed. This screen is just sitting on the wall with the and if you're doing Gemba walks or walkabouts, you can stop. This is your stopping point for that particular machine. Now, maybe the roof-off view isn't what you wanted, what I showed you earlier, and maybe you want to look at multiple departments on one screen. And we have an add-on for that as well, where we have various areas of the factory out there. And the factory is, here are my cutting machines, my lasers and my plasmas. And I have those same color codes. This one's calling for a material handler. This one's calling for the laser machine. If I click on one of these buttons, let's see, I'll click on the laser 1 button. Everything down at the bottom will update and show me what the current job is and so it's running DJ11441 suffix 0 op 10. The job's cut for 100. There's 15 to go. I should finish in 13 more minutes of runtime. And here's my item and item description. If I click back on the Plasma O2, then I can get some more information on that. In a second here, it'll show me all the details for Plasma, the Plasma O2 machine. Excuse me, or Plasma O1 is what I clicked on. I'm sorry. So that's DJ12353. Suffix 0 op 40. It's this pound 10 item, and I've got 2 hours and 22 minutes to go on that particular one. So we've looked at the live and on screens. Now let's take a look at some of the dashboards that are out there. And let's start with the OEE. Now here's an OEE dashboard. Again, the dashboards are primarily for the back office. And here we're looking at an entire few months worth of data out there. And here's my utilization. I'm at 98.23%. My efficiency is at 10.39. So I'm getting killed on the rates. My quality is really good at 99.68%. So when I multiply these 3 percentages together, I end up with 10.18% overall OEE. Not very good. Quality is great. Availability is great. I got to go after the rates. Either I have bad standards or I'm not achieving the expected output on that. So yeah, I have a lot of run hours, but I'm really only earning 10% of those run hours that are out there. Now I can filter and slice and dice this information. If I want to look at one particular work center or one machine or one part number, or maybe do it by shift and see everything that was on first shift versus second shift. I can slice and dice this information and really drill in and try to narrow in on where am I falling off the rails here with my performance on my efficiency? Is it just one part number or whatnot? So that was OEE. Maybe we want to look at completed versus scrapped. How many parts did I produce versus how many parts did I scrap? And in here, I have 105 pieces produced. I scrapped 10 on that day. And this one was 80 and nothing and 100 and nothing and so on. So you can see that it's very easy to see my completed versus scrapped numbers. But now let's look at maybe a labor report. Not all of them have to be charts. Here's more of a report. I've pulled David Danielson's numbers for the last 7 days. And David worked 8 hours each one of those 7 days. Now I have a goal that everybody needs to have at least 80% of their time paid needs to be reported on jobs. Well, here I can see he had 5.5, so I only did 68, call it 69% on that day. And then he had 6.8 and so forth. He hit this goal the rest of the time. So I have one day where he kind of slipped. But when I look at his overall over that 7 day period, he still ended up at 82.1. So I'm not really that mad about it. Maybe this was just a blip or a fluke or something like that. But if I have somebody that's habitually in the red, I need to take some action against that. But again, it's very simple. I can see the colors from here on who's hitting the goal and who isn't. Very simple and fast to digest. Now let's look at the scrap analysis. And our scrap, again, we're collecting all the data out on the factory floor, so we know the part numbers of the machines and the shift and the operator and all that. We can slice and dice that information. Looking at this, here's my Pareto of my top scrap items. So my top one is this FA 10,000. I scrapped 15 of them. And then 30,058, I scrapped 9 of them, and so on. I have my reason codes here of why I scrapped them, and I can represent that in a pie chart. So here, why am I scrapping parts? And then down here, which work center is doing this? So, I look at this and I say, with minimal analysis, I can say, I need to form a continuous improvement team, a Kaizen Blitz team, and I need to attack the FA 10,000 in the assembly work center. And that's taking out 40% of my scrap. So now I need to get the engineers out there or whomever I need to get out there to go look at this assembly process and fix it, because that's my number one scrap in 2 different categories. If I fix that, I've taken out 40% of my scrap. It might be something simple like a fixture or something like that that just needs to be modified. So now we'll shift gears, and we've looked at the live screens, the live andons, and the roof-off view, and we've looked at the dashboards. Now let's look at some of the assembly processes. Now I'm going to run this on a bigger screen here. So I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to hit the view, and so you can see the screen painting. My monitor is pretty big, so this is going to be a big screen right now. It's going to be stretched, or it's what's called responsive, so it's going to fill the entire screen. So it doesn't matter if you're on a tablet or on a PC with a 15-inch monitor or a PC with a 36-inch monitor like I have here. It's going to resize it accordingly. So here's an operator interface. This is an example. This isn't the only one. There are many examples, but this is the example that we'll look at today of what the operator interaction would look like. So in here, it's David Daniels clocked onto this job right now. And I can see my job queue. This is coming right out of SyteLine, my job queue. So I'm currently running this KS001 blank, and it started up at 8 o'clock this morning. And then I should have been to this test diameter part at 10:27 this morning, and then 13:26:49 and so forth. I can see what my job queue is. Now, you can suppress this if you only want to show them the current job they're running, plus maybe the first backup, and hide the rest. That's simple to do. We'll just show the top 2 rows. Or if you want to see the whole schedule and let the operator pick and choose, but you have to be wary. The example of that, maybe this D2068 part number is really easy for the operator to run. But if I look at my start date, I don't have to start running this until November 26th, based on the schedule in SyteLine. So maybe I want to hide these so to prevent him from running this November part ahead of these 2 October ones. Now over here, here's the job number, suffix operation, the part number, the part description, the revision if it has one. This one doesn't have a revision in SyteLine. Here's my balance at 10,000. I haven't made any product yet. I have 4 hours and 5 minutes left of runtime on this particular part to make those 10,000 parts. I can also do quality testing. So when I hit my quality testing button here, it's going to open up the interface in the QCS. So what we're doing is we're reading in the control plan that's been created in QCS. And in here, I can put in my sample size. If I'm checking 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces or whatever, let's say I'm just going to check one. So I'm going to put a quantity of one in here and go ahead and create my tests. Excuse me. And here are my tests that I read in from the control plan in CloudSuite Industrial. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this top one. I'm checking a hole diameter. I'm checking a profile. I'm checking the CM or flatness on the part, and I'm checking for no heavy marks or scratches on the particular part. Now, on here, I can also look at, I have SPC capabilities in here. So if I'm going to measure the part, I can come in here and put my gauge, which gauge is associated with this particular feature, and I can enter my value and so forth. I can also pull SPC data for this particular part. So when I hit the control chart button, I'm pulling the last 25 measurements that I've made on this particular part number for this feature on this part, and it's going to show me the history for that. So here's my hole diameter, here's my spec, and here are my last 25 parts. So the oldest one on this chart was measured back on August 26th at 8:06 in the morning. And I can go through and look at all the individual data points if I want. Down here, we're taking those data points and we're calculating a CPK and a PPK based on these 25 data points. And as I continue to measure them, I'm going to get this one little dip to fall off of here, this 0.1231 measurement, and I'm going to see my CPK and PPK. They're already at a 5 sigma process, but it's going to go way up to probably a 7 sigma process once this one data point drops off. Just have to measure more parts. So that is the quality piece of it. Again, fully integrated to SyteLine's control plan. So this data is the calculation of the inspections that have already been performed. This is reading in the control plan right from CloudSuite Industrial. I did a sample size of 1. If I made this a sample size of 5, I would see 5 iterations of each one of these features. And as I'm recording those test results, recording the results, they disappear off the list. So this grid is nothing more than what's still left to be inspected. So as I'm doing measurements, that feature falls off of the grid. I also have a full link into the service module. So I can create an incident. Maybe the machine's making a funny noise or something like that. I can hit the incident button, and that's going to pull up this screen that now the operator can put in some basic information. I heard a suggestion from one of our customers just a week ago or so that maybe we should put in an AI element or maybe a text to speech, which is going to be technically on them to put a text or a speech to text thing on their device, which is fine. It's great. So they could just say it. So the operator may not be the best typist in the world. They could just say what the problem is. But if I was to fill this out and hit the submit button, I will create the incident in CloudSuite Industrial. I can initiate the workflows to notify maintenance that an incident's been created. And I'm going to transfer all this text that they put in here into the notes on the incident record in CloudSuite Industrial. So now let's go ahead and make some parts here. So I have the 10,000 pieces to go. Let's say I'm going to make another 1,000 parts. So I'm going to say 1,000 parts here that I just made, and I'm going to hit the submit button. And we're going to see our balance here in a few seconds. We're going to see the balance drop to 9,000 pieces. We're going to see our time also change. So now the 9,000, we produced 1,000, our time has changed. And when I come into CloudSuite Industrial, I already have the unposted job transactions form open. I'm already filtered to today's date. I'm going to hit the refresh button, and here's my 1,000 pieces that I just produced. So I'm creating an unposted job transaction. We can create posted transactions, or you can have this auto post on whatever frequency you want. It's just easier for me when I'm showing the software to create unposted transactions so you can see them really easily in here. So here's my 1,000 pieces that I just did, and the unposted job transaction was created. Now on the far right, oh, I'm sorry, I almost forgot. I have IDM documents. So this is my link to IDM. if I pulled this document, this part number up in the item master, I have 3 documents associated with it in IDM. If I want to pull up the drawing, I can just say, click on the drawing button there, and I'll hit the open button, and then it'll pop open this window here in a second, and it will open up the drawing for that particular file or for that particular item. And this is all linked to CloudSuite Industrial. I'm pulling it from the Infor item master context from IDM, but you can change that to whatever context you want, whatever's most appropriate for you. But we have full access to the IDM documents that you want to give the operators or the folks on the factory floor permission to be able to see. Now, on the far right, I have the and-on buttons. So the operator can call for a material handler, can call for a supervisor, can call maintenance. They can set other statuses. If we're not reading it directly from the machine's controller, we can set those buttons there. So if I come back to this tab, and I'm going to come back to my roof off view, and I'm going to open up the roof off again. And the machine that we're controlling here is this guy here in the lower left-hand side. So when it's done painting, see how this one is already yellow, this machine down here. And I'm going to come back to the interface here. I'm going to put it on idle. So I'm going to click on the black button up here, and the black button, now you see the asterisk moved up to the black button. When I come back to the roof off view, it's black. So that's how those and-on buttons can drive the roof up view or the and-on screens, the department screens, and so forth. Can be driving that, so it's that seamless for the operator to be able to interact with it. If we're not talking directly to the machine's controller, but the machine doesn't necessarily know that you need to call a material handler over, that you just ran out of parts. So these buttons are good. We can change the roof off view. We can change a stack light. We can sound a horn. We can do whatever's appropriate within your organization to notify that the operator needs some help. And again, it's all about time. So we can't have the operator leave their station to go find the material handler or something like that. The operator should be staying at their station and calling for help, and the help should come to the operator instead of vice versa. Anyone have any questions up to this point? All right, excellent. So now we're going to transition into what we refer to as the downtime manager. And the downtime manager allows us to look at what's happening on a particular machine or groups of machines. I'm going to put a couple machines on here. I'll just put all 5 of these on there. And I'm going to look at October 1st. So I'm going to go ahead and say okay to that. I'm going to fetch my data. And what's happening here is we're pulling in what we call the downtime ribbon for those 5 machines for that particular day. And I don't have to read any numbers. I can look at this from here and say this DRL10M1 had a bad day. That I only had, 5.7% of my time was actually the machine running. The rest of the time it was down. Now I have some other things going on with it, but this machine did not perform very well. Now I look at this Drill 10 M2 machine, the second one here, and it's up, down, up, down, up, down. It's almost 50-50. 52% down, 47% running. This is screaming for a continuous improvement project. Something's going on with this machine that I have all these stoppages during the run. I don't have any long blocks. It's just, let's call them nuisance stops or change stops. And maybe I'm having a problem with a part getting stuck in a fixture, or I'm getting a problem with how the part is presented to the operator. Whatever the case may be, I need to get a team out there to look at this, to fix this, because the machine's running, but I have a lot of downtime in that run that I need to attack. And look at this next one, this Drill 10 M3 ran great, ran without a stop all day long. And then the bottom one, there's some sporadic stoppages in there, but nothing crazy, not like the second one. There's some sporadic stoppages in there. I got a 94% runtime out of it with 5.2%, all these little red dots or red lines added up to just 5% of the time. I'm happy with that. I'm okay with that. But these top 2 are the ones I'm going to attack. Now, let's say for a second that this was a robotically loaded machine, and I was connected directly to the machine. The machine doesn't know why it was down. It knows that it was just down. Well, I can come in here after the fact, and I can click on this block, let's say from 9:01 to 10:47 in the morning. Why was it down? And I can give it a reason and say it was down because I was out of material. I didn't have any parts to run. was waiting on the material handler again. So I can go ahead and hit the save button here. And now I've just given it a downtime reason for that block of time in there. And now that can update all my dashboards and KPIs and everything else that I have associated with that. That I had, 7% of my time I was out of material. I look at how much the whole factory was out of material, and maybe I need to hire another material handler or change the way we're delivering material to the factory floor. So now we're going to transition into what we call manufacturing hub, which is a true disconnected manufacturing type environment, not really connected to a machine's controller here. So I can first select a workstation. And the reason why I'm selecting a workstation is maybe different stations do different things. Maybe one station doesn't do production schedules, but another one does. Or so why even show it on their menu? Or they don't do material transactions, or whatever the case may be. I'm going to pick the stamping work center because it has everything turned on. And I'm going to go ahead and select that. And now it's asking me to log in. So I can scan my badge. I can do a biometric if you want to integrate into a biometric device that's connected to the device on the factory floor. I'm just going to type in employee number 1. I'm going to come in as, David Daniels. And here's the baseline functionality. So David's been clocked in for 4 hours and 21 minutes today. David can start and end a shift. They can go to and from break, to and from lunch. We can integrate into SyteLine. We're going to feed the data into CSI's time and collection tables. And then from there, if you're using SyteLine's payroll or an external payroll application, we can push that data all the way through to that system as well. We can clock onto a standard job. We can do a team job, which is multiple people working on one thing. Or we can do a multi-job, which is the opposite of that. David's working on 3 or 4 machines at the same time. I can do job movements. I can do a setup, machine transactions. I can issue and return raw material to the job. I can do a just-in-time, or I can clock on to an indirect code. Now I'm going to focus on the standard job at this point. So I'm going to click the standard job button. And in here, on my standard job, I could have David assigned to a specific work center, so this list would have been pre-filtered for him. But David can work anywhere. He's a man of many talents and can work on any one of the machines. Let's say David doesn't know the job number or even the work center. He only knows a piece of the part number. So I can come over here to this search box over on the far right, and I'm going to type in the word blank, BLANK. And now it has just resorted the list, and it found everything that has the word blank in it somewhere. So in this case, it's, in the end of the part number, the middle of the part number. It could be also in the description. We're searching on these 2 columns here when I typed in the word blank. Now, maybe David says, well, it is the 60-ton machine. So I'm going to go ahead and change this and bring this drop-down list and say, just show me the jobs in the 60-ton machine. And here are the, 5 jobs that have the word blank in it that run in the 60-ton machine. Now I'm going to take the word blank out of here. I'm just going to hit this X. I'm going to clear that piece of it. And here's the whole load for the 60-ton machine. It's 2 screens worth. So here's the second screen. Here's the first screen. And I can sort by any column in here. So if I want to sort it by item number, I can just click on the item number, and now everything's sorted by part number, or maybe by quantity, ascending or quantity descending, and just click it twice. I can see based on my little arrow here which way it's going, or maybe the release date I can sort by, or the due date, whatever the case may be. I'm going to take it. I'm going to bring it back to due date, ascending. So here's my list of jobs, and I'm going to pick on this DJ12518 job number. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And when I clicked on that, it brought me into the more detailed screen here. So this one only has one operation on it that's assigned to the 60-ton. If I had multiple 60-ton operations, I would see all of them. So I had to pick which operation I was clocking on to. I have my little hamburger menu over here. From here, I can see my materials list. So here's the raw material I need. I need this MA010001. I need 515 pounds of it. I've only issued 100 so far. And so I can look at the same for the rest of the items in the bill of materials. And I can also look up, here are those same IDM documents that I showed you on the other screen, the drawing, the data sheets, the work instructions, whatever. These are just the IDM documents that are associated to this particular part number. I'm going to go ahead and start the run here. So I'm going to start my job on this DJ12518 operation 10. So I'm clicking the start run, and now I'm clocked onto this job. And I'm going to go ahead and close out this next screen here. And I know that I'm clocked onto a standard job because this box has now turned green for David Daniels. So let's change personas for a second. I'm no longer going to be David Daniels. I'm now going to be David's supervisor. So I'm going to open up the supervisor interface over here. And David's supervisor, I can see here are all the jobs that are currently running that my people are currently running. And here's the this job that Jared Powell is running. It's this DJ12035 for a quantity of 7. It should have taken 8 minutes, and I'm at 37 days. So clearly, this job has just been sitting in the press for over a month. And then here's the DJ12518. It should have taken 2 hours and 16 minutes, and it looks like David forgot to punch out because I actually logged 1 day, 5 hours and 44 minutes against this job. So these are just the ones that are running. Where are all my people at? So here I'm going to change to this employee status, and here's where all my people are. And here's David Daniels. He's been running that job now for 1 minute and 12 seconds. Here's Elizabeth Patton. She's been on the clock now for 4 hours and 23 minutes, and she hasn't clocked on to anything yet. So she has this blank scan. So either she forgot to punch on, or I need to go find Elizabeth and find out what she's doing. So, and get her to clock on, and I'm probably going to have to fix her transaction because she forgot to clock on 4 hours ago. Here's James Robinson. He always gets poached by engineering. So here's James Robinson working for engineering again for 4 hours and 24 minutes. And then lastly, here's Jared Powell, who's been on that job now for 4 hours and 21 minutes. Now I can manage employees. I can say what things can certain people do. So when I look at David Daniels, the top one, David can do all the transactions. Same thing with James Robinson. But when I drop down to Dave Conda here, Dave can only do indirect codes, clock onto a standard job, do issues and setup. If I clock down or look down at Brenda King here, Brenda can't do anything. And Thomas Zimmerman can only do setups. So you can restrict what types of transactions every person can do in the system just by managing the employees. I can manage teams also, and I can send alerts out to all the stations. Like I talked about earlier, we've got a fire drill come in or customer visit or whatever the case may be. But I can also look at the transactions. And I'm going to look at all my run transactions since I'm going to go back to the beginning of the month here. And I'm going to say through today. I'm going to go ahead and view the transactions. I should have, I don't know, maybe a half a dozen of them or so. So actually, I have more than that. I have quite a few of them. So here are all my run transactions. And I can see the detail, Jared Powell clocked on at 10:08 for, at 12:42 and clocked off and so forth. He worked a lot of hours that day. And I can see all the transactions. I'm going to pick on, let's see, I'm going to pick on this David Daniels one, this 12387 entry here, this one down at the bottom. I have this little pencil next to this transaction that I can go ahead and hit the pencil, and it's going to open up the detail for this. And any field that's in white, I can update from in here. So I can fix times. If David forgot to punch out or forgot to punch in, whatever the case may be, I can fix their times or dates in here. I can fix quantities if they had a typo in there. I'm going to actually put some scrap in there. So of these 4 pieces, we actually scrapped one of them. So I'm going to change that quantity to 1. I'm going to put in a scrap reason saying it was destroyed during testing. And I can put some notes on the floor here. We had to part destroyed in QC testing. And I can go ahead and hit the save. And now I've just updated that transaction. And in a moment, we're going to see that entry get pushed back to CloudSuite Industrial here's my part destroyed during testing, that one piece that I just updated. Any questions on that?
There wasn't a
Oh,
there was a question, Greg, here just of what ERP systems is Prophecy integrating with or able to integrate with?
well, the way that Prophecy is built, we're using the API layer to communicate with CloudSuite Industrial. So right now, our customers are CloudSuite Industrial, but they can be LN, they can be M3, they can even be a non-Infor package. In fact, the way that with net new customers coming online, the way that it typically works is Prophecy is done and installed and up and running long before the go live date for the ERP system. So we only need about maybe 8 weeks, 7, 8 weeks to get everything installed and up and running, maybe even less in some cases, depending on the complexity of the implementation, uh, so that we can start realizing value from the dashboards, from the and-on screens. We don't even need an ERP to connect to in those cases. Hopefully that answered that question. Thank you for that question. So I'm going to come back now to the manufacturing hub, and I'm going to come back to the stamping operation. I almost forgot I left David clocked in there. So I'm going to be clocking in as David Daniels, and I'm going to come to the standard job and I'm going to clock him off. So in here, I'm going to go ahead and end the run. And I'm going to say that David just made 5 pieces because I don't have that many left on this job to use. So I'm going to say David made 5 and didn't scrap any. I'm going to go ahead and hit the save. And I'm going to get this message that's going to pop up here saying, do I want to print my labels? Now we're fully integrated to Bartender. So we can go through CloudSuite Industrial, or we can talk to Bartender directly, depending on how you want to handle it, or whatever application is producing your labels. I don't have any label maker connected, so I'm not going to say yes to this, but I can print my labels right away from there. And now David has clocked out, and that listing, my queue, is going to reappear now, where I can clock on to my next job. I'm going to go ahead and hit the exit screen here, and I'm going to come back to CloudSuite Industrial, and I'm going to hit the refresh button on my unposted job transactions. And here is my scrap that I put in for that destroyed during testing. Here's that one piece that I scrapped when I was the supervisor. And here is I'm sorry, it's the top one. Here's David Daniels, his 5 pieces that he just made in 0.11 hours. So also, I can, if I come back to the plant overview here, I can also put in, I'm sorry, when I hit the plant overview, I have to load the roof off view. But I can also, when I change this, I can also have a manufacturing hub with and-on buttons on it. So I can still have the manufacturing hub talking to a roof off view or summoning material handler or whatever the case may be. And that's an example of this here when it's done loading. I apologize for not having it loaded already. But here's the manufacturing hub that we just were in, along with the and-on buttons at the side. And again, it's that same machine, so it's still in an idle state. I can call a material handler or call maintenance or whatever the case may be, and this button will update this machine on the roof off view. That concludes our content presentation for Prophecy today, and I will open up the floor to any questions or anything that anyone would like to see or discuss.
There's a couple other questions here, Greg, for you. So the first one is, what is Prophecy able to do when a machine hits a threshold or goes down?
So if a machine hits a threshold and goes down, Prophecy is capable of sending alerts to maintenance or the supervisor, obviously updating any and-on screens or real-time roof-off views, things like that. We can collect the data that was output by the machine at the time it went down. What was the pressure? What was the temperature? The whatever, all the machine output data that we were collecting for that particular machine, we can also grab a picture of as well.
That's right. Yes. And the alerts are text, email, can even sound an alarm if you want us to,
Yep.
using the Prophecy toolkit. Another question. This is a good one. It's is Prophecy AI ML enabled? You know, the buzzwords.
That is a good question. So we are not the AI engine. We are the data collection engine to feed data to an AI or machine learning engine. So we're not going to do that machine learning today, but we're going to populate whatever tool you choose to deploy and utilize. We're the ones feeding that tool that data.
And then another just more specific question is the way you're demonstrating this, is there a way to make the prophecy screens full screen so it takes up so the operators and the TVs are just showing just the prophecy screen?
Sure. It's just a browser thing. I don't want to do it because I did it earlier today and it messed me up. Not Prophecy, but the browser. But I can come out of uh, the Prophecy is a web-based application, so it's going to run inside of a browser. But you can do things like the F11 key to hide the tabs up at the top and hide these bars, so it will appear to be the full screen, and that's just your browser settings.
And then another question here is, can prophecy use machine data that's gathered to provide updates directly to the ERP?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can collect data from the controller on a machine that, let's say it's running in full auto. Every time you make a piece, we can report that into CloudSuite Industrial if that's what you want it to do. We have many customers that do that. I guess it also depends on the nature of your process. If you're making one part every 5 minutes, it's pretty easy to do. If you're making, five parts every second, maybe you don't want to be doing that approach.
Yeah, and that's right. And the to build on that, the machine data that's coming in, the charts even that were being demonstrated here today can be different based on the type of machine. So we have a set of charts for welding machines, different than a set of charts for CNC machines or injection mold machines. So whatever types of machines you're using on your production floor, the reporting and the visualizations are made to match those.
Absolutely.
And then one final question to answer is, could a customer start with a disconnected mode first using the manufacturing hub and then migrate into a more collected mode collecting machine data?
That is actually the most common deployment we do. So
Okay.
if your organization already has your machines wired up and you're already collecting data, then we would probably advocate for doing connected right out of the gate. Most customers and companies we engage with don't, are not like that. So, you know, we prefer the crawl, walk, run approach. And let's start getting data. Let's get you the andons. Let's get you the roof off and start building dashboards and having that data. And when you're ready for us to connect to the controller, we're there for you.
That's correct. And one more question came in here. It's what business intelligence, BI, and analytics tools does Prophecy support?
Uh, we can, if you're Power BI, we can populate those tables. If Burst, we can populate. Uh, we can write straight to the data lake. We can write into CloudSuite Industrial. It depends on what data it is we're putting in there. CloudSuite Industrial doesn't really have a place for like a running temperature reading or pressure reading. So we could populate that into a data lake table or our own database for that matter. Uh, Whatever analytics tool, if it can accept external data, we can populate it.
Yeah, that's short way is in Prophecy itself, there's a charting tool, but certainly the data can be moved and pulled into any other database, SQL, NoSQL, all those others that can be used by other BI tools. Okay, Greg, I think that's all the questions we have today.
All right. Excellent. Well, if anyone has any questions or wants to get in any one area or any area in more detail, feel free to reach out to us. I'm happy to dive deeper into it. I showed one particular interface, like Ben had mentioned. We have several different types of machines and interfaces built for that, but I didn't want to, uh, show like seven or eight different interfaces and confuse everyone today. So, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to help and happy to get into more detail.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us today. You'll be receiving a recording of what you just watched, and we look forward to talking to you some more about your specific setups and how Prophecy can help you. Have a good day.